Morocco is building the world's largest football stadium for the 2030 FIFA World Cup. When completed, the Grand Stade Hassan II could seat 115,000 people. Located near Benslimane Airport, 25 miles or 40 kilometers east of Casablanca, Morocco's largest city. It might look modern, but the design is inspired by local traditions dating back hundreds of years. So let's discuss it in today's episode of Built Up. Now, UK-based design firm Populous has partnered with French architect companies Oulalu and Choi to build the world's largest football stadium, a $500 million mega project named after former Moroccan king Hassan II. After the North African nation partnered with Spain and Portugal, FIFA announced they would jointly host the 2030 FIFA World Cup. But talks about the project began around 20 years earlier. In the late 2000s, when nations bid on projects to host the 2010 FIFA World Cup, Morocco proposed to build 5 major stadiums across the country, including the Grand Stade. Unfortunately, they lost out to South Africa. About a decade later, Morocco proposed another, more grandiose project for the FIFA World Cup 2026, where the Grand Stade was just one of 16 mega stadiums across the country. Unfortunately, the US, Canada and Mexico won that bid. However, everything changed in 2022 when the Moroccan national football teams qualified for the 2022 World Cup semi-finals. Emboldened by this achievement, the Royal Moroccan Football Federation took the lead and is going to host the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. As a result of their tenacity, Morocco is now set to host the 2030 World Cup. Located in a lush green forest, Hassan II Stadium is going to be draped with a mesmerizing tinted roof that will protect the building while also providing shade for the visitors. If you're looking at the stadium and thinking, hey, I think I've seen that somewhere, you're right. It's basically a giant Moroccan desert tent, inspired by the Tantan Musim cultural celebration. The architectural firm Populous saw a connection between the World Cup and the old Moroccan tradition of Tantan Musim. Starting in 1963, the Musim is an annual gathering held in the southwestern city of Morocco, Tantan. During the celebration, 30 nomadic tribes from southern Morocco set up 800 tents made from woven camel or lamb hair in the city. These tents serve as temporary homes for the tribesmen, who display exhibits of the tribal way of life, their cooking and weaving practices, marriage ceremonies, and even readings of the Quran. Some would even sell traditional arts and crafts. The main focus of the event, however, was the trading of camels. A procession of camels, counting in the thousands, led by hundreds upon hundreds of traders, would travel to the Musim for days just so they could begin trading. After the 25-year break, when the festival was cancelled from 1979 until 2004, Tantan Musim has become a symbol of Moroccan culture and tradition and declared a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage. The reason we're telling you all of this is because these 800 tents were the inspiration for the Grand Stade. The white aluminum shade draped over the stadium is supposed to mimic the camel hair tents erected during Tantan Musim. In a way, this will be the largest Musim tent erected in the country that will pay homage to Moroccan tradition. And even though it might seem like an expensive mega project, it's worth noting that this stadium will continue to serve the National Football Federation of Morocco years after the end of the 2030 FIFA World Cup. In fact, after the World Cup, Hassan II Stadium will replace Stade Mohammed V as the home of Wydad AC and Raja CA, the largest football clubs in Morocco. But the $500 million project will be just part of the deal. In October 2023, the Moroccan government allocated around 5 billion dirhams, which is around 500 million US dollars, for the construction of the Grand Stade. The construction is supposed to begin in 2025, and by 2028, Morocco will open its doors to the public. Then, at the end of December, the project began, and according to the president of the Royal Moroccan Football Federation, it will be complete in just 2 years, which is ahead of the specified schedule. The 5 billion dirhams are excluded from the 9.5 billion dirhams, around $950 million, to build and renovate 6 stadiums to meet the standards of the Confederation of African Football, which are expected to be ready by 2025, when Morocco will hold the Africa Cup of Nations. Immediately after the ACN, the government will allocate between 4.5 to 6 billion dirhams, $450 million to $600 million, to meet the FIFA standards for the 2030 World Cup. To head this mega project, the Moroccan government tasked local architectural firm Tariq Oulalu Architect along with Populous to design the revolutionary stadium. And when it comes to designing large stadiums, Populous is the way to go. They're the company behind London's Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and the Emirates Stadium. They've also designed around a dozen Olympic venues and even more smaller stadium projects around the world. Needless to say, they know what they're doing when it comes to design, which is why Morocco hired them. And speaking of knowing what they're doing, before Populous even started on this project, they analysed the world's largest stadiums. Narendra Modi Stadium is currently the world's largest, seating 132,000 people in 2021. But that's a cricket stadium. North Korea claimed to have the largest stadium in the world, with a capacity to seat 150,000 people. But upon review, they found out that the most it can seat is 114,000 people. And that's exactly why Populous built a stadium that fits exactly 1,000 people more than the current largest football stadium in the world. Located on a 250-acre construction site in El Mansouriya, the 115,000-seat Grand Stade Hassan II will feature a rectangular stadium that will be covered with a white aluminum lattice. This tent-like shade will protect the fans in the stalls, as well as the tiered gardens located on the outside of the stadium and the botanical garden located on the ground floor. To support the complex geometry of the roof, the designers included a ring of 32 stairways around the stadium bowls. All of these will create monumental gateways opening into lush green gardens, which are positioned 90 feet above the ground on elevated platforms. So try to imagine seating under the translucent envelope of the roof lattice and overlooking an oasis of greenery at different levels of the stadium. On top of that, right outside the stadium, where the tent-like structure covers the entrances, you'll find natural botanical gardens built into the landscape. According to the main designer and founder of Ulalu and Choi, the design will be deeply rooted in Moroccan culture, with its traditions and contemporary expressions. It is rooted in ancient and primordial figures, the Musem, the tent, and the garden, as well as the topography and landscapes of Morocco. Since construction began, some have called it colossal, precisely because of its seating tiers. The stadium bowl will have 3 tiers of seating on each of the main stands. At each end of the stadium, there will be 2 larger stands with the capacity to hold almost 30,000 people. Each of the main stands will be interrupted by 5 different levels of VIP or VVIP lounges and hospitality, and the stadium will even feature a royal box where the most influential figures will sit. Put together, the 5 levels of lounges, along with the hospitality and royal box, will hold an additional 12,000 people. According to the lead architect on the project, Francois Clement, the Grand Stade Hassan II will provide extraordinary spaces that create exceptional experiences for every fan and every visitor. It's a cornerstone of King Mohammed VI's vision to develop Morocco's football infrastructure that will elevate Morocco to the highest global platform of sporting infrastructure development. The stadium will be 100% compliant with the latest FIFA rules and guidelines. And like we already said, this will only be a small part of a major government project that Morocco has undertaken in preparation for the FIFA World Cup 2030. As preparations for the groundworks of the stadium are underway, Morocco expects FIFA to choose Grand Stade Hassan II to host the grand final of the World Cup. However, Spain might have a problem with that. You see, FIFA still has to decide which stadium will host the 2030 World Cup final. For the time being, Morocco's $500 million stadium is the favourite, along with Real Madrid's Estadio Santiago Bernabeu, which has been renovated only recently. There's no doubt that Morocco will host a lot of the FIFA games, but we've yet to see if the colossal mega stadium will host the final game. So, do you think Grand Stade Hassan II will host the final match of the 2030 FIFA World Cup? Or do you think that honour will go to Madrid? Tell us in the comment section down below. Now, here's another video mega project enthusiasts enjoyed watching. Bye for now.